Hey everybody, Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala here with a video response to a video from Brian's Man Cave that I saw a few days ago. Now, Brian has started this series where he's responding to comments, and I actually really like it. Like he mentions in his video, which I will link in the description, comments are a fantastic resource for content creators. You can make your opinions known, we can have discourse. If we're doing something you don't like, you can voice it. If we're doing something that you like, you can voice it. Much more than a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a sub or anything like that. Leaving a comment is a very useful resource for us. And also, this is a social platform, so talking back and forth is awesome. And that's why with the exception of if anything is particularly vile, I have a policy on my channel that I will not delete a comment. Excuse me. If you disagree with me, great. If you agree with me, great. But his video last few days was about the cost of homebrew, particularly intellivision homebrew, because that is kind of the world where both of us are, for lack of a better term, experts. I don't think anybody's really an expert on anything. Certainly not YouTubers. But it's the realm in which we're probably most deeply set. So when he was talking about homebrews cost too much, and it was a response to a comment on his channel saying these games are all overpriced. And that's a similar comment to some that I've gotten in the past. Intellivision homebrew games generally run between $60 and $70 US. Then on top of that, you've got shipping, and shipping has skyrocketed in the last few years. You're going to be paying $20, $25 to get it shipped. So really, by the time it gets to you, you spend anywhere from $85 to even $100 US for a single game. Is that expensive? Yes. Is it overpriced, though? No. And I'll tell you why. I am going to leave out the whole issue because it's part of what Brian talked about and part of what this commenter mentioned. And I would like to say that, I appreciate his comment, and I appreciate the fact that Brian is willing to have a discussion about it. And a lot of people chimed in his comments, publishers, programmers, and just fans of homebrew. Because it is a valid concern. Why is a new Intellivision game costing the same, if not more, than a new PlayStation or Xbox game? And sorry, what I meant to say was I'm going to ignore the whole licensing issue right now. A few weeks ago, I posted some concerns about the Intellivision homebrew community right now. And that's something that I will be following up with. I'm going to be talking about all of your comments. I'm going to be talking about one or two video responses that I received. Maybe not video responses, but people who made videos commenting on that same topic. So right now, I'm only going to really be referring to games that are new, not infringing on IPs. I do think that is a concern, not just in the Intellivision community, but broader, and certainly with Atari now moving potentially into the Intellivision zone. I don't think they have any plans physically to enter that zone yet, but we should be a little more careful. But that's for another video, and I'm going to get to that. But this commenter said, first of all, that why would I buy, for instance, Defender of the Crown, game published by Electronite, fully licensed. That one's fully licensed. When I can buy it on the NES for $8. And that's a very valid point. But his other comment was, a lot of these games are crap. They shouldn't be charging anything for them. And when they do make, for instance, a physical copy like Anthropomorphic Force here, they really should only be making a profit of about $10. And I disagree with that. I disagree with that on a couple levels. First of all, the idea that people's work should be free because it's crap, or because they should be doing this because of their passion. I think if you take all the money out of Homebrew, which with Intellivision Homebrew, as we'll get to, there isn't much, but if you take all the money out of Homebrew, all you're going to get's crap. Because something like Anthropomorphic Force, there was a lot of effort put into this game. This game is remarkable. It is original. And there was also effort put into getting somebody to do the box art, paying to have proper overlays made, a full manual. We game test this. And I was a game tester on Anthropomorphic Force. I've been a game tester with most Electronite games for 9 years now, maybe 10 years. I don't get paid. I do it because I love it, and I'll usually get a game at cost, but I don't get paid for that. I don't even get a free copy of the game. I paid for this. But there is effort put into every level of this, and cost. So to say that should only be making a $10 profit, well, that's also kind of not true either. Because you could say, all right, I'm going to take the cost of all this, which, let's say for argument's sake, is $35. I don't know what the exact cost is, but let's say that this costs $35 to produce the physical aspects, the box, the cartridge with the circuit board, sticker, 2 overlays, and a manual. And they're selling it for $70. Well, how much of that is actually profit for the publisher? Nothing, until they sell between 80 and 100 copies. Because they have purchased boxes, 500 boxes. I know Electronite, for instance, and Homebrew Inc., they purchase boxes in batches of 500. Now, let's say their cost there is $2 a box. But if they're only going to sell 100 copies, then the actual cost of each box that goes out is $10. And they've paid the programmer. Before a single game is sold, it is not uncommon for a publisher to have spent between $5,000 and $7,000. Now, there are some who do it for much less, but you now have to recoup all that money with your sales. You do not see a single cent in actual profit until you sold, like I said, between 80 and 100 of these. And in the current Intellivision Homebrew community, there are games, not this one I don't think, I hope not, this is a great game, that lose money. Publishers are literally paying for the privilege to publish games for you that you can buy. The example that Brian's Man Cave used was Napoleonic Wars. I really like Napoleonic Wars. I actually really love that game. I think it is the best game that Brian has made. We had a group of people helping out with that. We had music, custom music done. We had custom graphics done. We had extra work with the programmer, Brian, to make it more than just Stratego. We gave it multiple maps. We made it so you could play as either side. We had He had already included different difficulty levels. But there was a lot that went into that. And to say that you shouldn't be making any money on that is then to take out those extra graphics, those audio tracks. You'll just have a generic track. You'll just have whatever base game that Brian programmed. If you watch my Napoleonic Wars review video, which is on my channel, was in January of this year, I believe, you'll see I give a little behind the scenes at the end of that video of what the original game was and what we did to make it Napoleonic Wars. I say what we did. I gave some ideas, and other far more talented people than me actually executed them. But the whole thought process of, and like I said, you know, I really like Napoleonic Wars. I understand that not everybody's going to like that type of game. It's a board game on the intellivision. And it has not sold very well. In fact, I don't believe it's even made back what was invested in it yet. And there have been multiple games published over the years that have lost money. So even at that technically $35 profit margin, if you've already paid your programmer $2,000 for the ROM, well, you know, if you sell 100 copies, that's $20 of your above material cost that's not going to the programmer. So now you're making $15 a copy, even at 100 copies made. So are they expensive? Yes. Are they too expensive? I would argue no. And with the amount of copies that are generally being sold in the intellivision homebrew community, publishers are struggling. You look at Intellivision Collector. Intellivision Collector does everything right. They've got a storefront that is fantastic. You can just go on there, click what you want to buy, and buy it. They sell the ROMs for the games, so you can save tons of money if you've got an LTO flash or you're using JZINTV emulation, and get the game that way. They really, there's nothing more you could want from that. And some of their titles have not sold well, and they've got a solid lineup. Now, there is also a difference. People have to understand that homebrew is no longer what it used to be. This is a professional product that is, in every way, shape, and form, better quality than the original Intellivision games were. You look like a company like Opcode. This is a professionally produced product that is, in every way, shape, and form, better quality than what the physical products for the original ColecoVision were. What homebrew used to be was where the name comes from. It's literally people in their homes typing some code and then putting that to a cart somehow. If you look at the genesis of homebrew, it's usually harvesting old cartridges for not only the plastic but the boards and replacing the ROM chip with a EEPROM. And there are certainly still budget homebrews out there. You look at something like, I did a review of this. This is Robot Ron for the Odyssey 2. This is in a hollowed out DVD case. It's got a 3D printed cartridge. This is a budget homebrew, but it's also sold as a budget homebrew. I believe even with the case, this was $30. And I gave it a positive review, even though it is a very simple game. The Odyssey 2, you kind of have to be simple, at least graphically. But it got a positive review because it was sold as a budget homebrew. And it was a budget homebrew, but for the price, I thought it was reasonable, especially considering what the rest of the homebrew community goes for. You look at Video 61. They've got these little boxes with an inkjet printed sticker on there. And then inside, got a little bit of bubble wrap and a harvested cartridge, again, with a inkjet printed sticker on it. And that's okay, because these are sold as budget homebrews and they're priced as such. So, yes, buying something from Electronite is going to cost you an arm and a leg. But you look at what it is for the system, and it's unbelievable for the system. Anthropomorphic Force, I've got a review on my channel. Check it out. But like in 1982, there's no way you'd be playing anything like this on the Intellivision. And you have to look at it in that scope. If you're comparing anything on the Intellivision to Assassin's Creed, obviously it's not going to stand up. Obviously there is a special kind of retro fan that is into the homebrew. But the reason you look at eBay and be like, oh, these are all so expensive, they're expensive because that's their worth. That's their value to this community. And in order to produce them, that's the price that they have to be. Trust me, if William was out there and knew that he could sell 1,000 of these, I'm sure they'd be a little cheaper. Because like anything else, you hop on AliExpress, you buy one, it's $10. You buy 100, they're $8 each. You buy 1,000, they're $5 each. With volume comes cost efficiency. And right now in the Intellivision homebrew community especially, but really across most homebrew, there really isn't the volume. So unless we want all of our homebrews to be this more budget style, the professional stuff is going to be between $60 and $70 US. So that's just kind of my thought. Yes, it's expensive. No, it's not too expensive, because even with the prices that it is now, and keep in mind that these are the same prices as when I first started getting into Intellivision homebrew. In 2015, something like this would cost $70, and it still costs $70 despite all the inflation of materials and everything else in the world. Video games kind of tend to be inflation-proof. I remember buying NES games in the late 80s, early 90s, and they were $60, $70 a lot of the time. And you buy a new game and it's still $60, $70, even though the amount of cost invested in those games, and I'm talking the AAA, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch stuff, is infinitely more. The price is the same. You adjust with inflation. Video games back then were way more expensive than they are now. So that's just to all the people out there saying this is too expensive. It's very expensive. It may not be for you, but for this community, and also these hold their value. When they're not available anymore, that price skyrockets. I can talk to, like for instance, I picked up, it's right here, Popeye, Daryl Ginter's Popeye from Atari Age in the Last Chance sale. I bought this for what, $60? I forget exactly what it cost. Complete in box, really nice. Best version of Popeye out there. I streamed it last weekend. You hop on eBay and try to buy one of these, because you can't get it anymore. You're going to spend hundreds of dollars, which is ridiculous. So quite often, homebrew, good homebrew anyway, can be a solid investment. Now, I do believe that it is the responsibility of publishers to be respectful of what it costs to purchase a homebrew. Put something on the cart that is worth that $70. at least within the community. Don't half-ass it. You look at, somebody had made a comment on my Tale of Dragons and Swords video, saying that, like most homebrew, this isn't worth $70. And it may not be to them, but if that homebrew isn't worth $70, I don't know what is. That has 3 endings. You have to play through the game at least twice to get them, 3 difficulty levels, and even playing through the easy difficulty level took me about 3 hours to get through. For the intellivision, that's freaking amazing. Now you pick up something else, a simpler game, you know, maybe the argument's made that that's not worth $70. But then in that case, because the process to make these means that these games cost $70, maybe it shouldn't be on a cart. That's a conversation for another day. And I am working on some stuff that might help the community a little bit. I'm hoping. But it was just a really interesting topic that Brian mentioned and brought up. And I know I've been rambling on this video. I appreciate you sticking around and hearing my thoughts. But I thought it was a great video and really something that's worth discussing. At the end of the day, yeah, I think it's the publisher's responsibility to make sure that whatever they do release is respectful of people's money when they're forking over what turns out to be a lot of money for homebrews. I've got a lot of homebrews, and trust me, I know they're expensive. And when I first got into it, I was balking at that $70. But now that I've kind of been involved behind the scenes in some of them, I haven't made a cent off of any game I've reviewed, by the way. I don't make a cent on anything, like I mentioned, even with my game testing. You know, I might get a discount copy, but that's about it. And I put hours and hours of game testing in, especially for the Electronite stuff. We're very rigorous. But that is part of respecting people's money. So that is my thoughts. Homebrew costs what it costs, and it's not because anybody is getting rich, particularly on Intellivision homebrew. Nobody is. In fact, I know there are at least 2 Electronite titles that they've taken a bath on, and that was because they paid for licensing. Those licenses expired before they could get the game out, or shortly after they got the game out, and that limited the amount of copies they could sell in an already limited community. So I really support the Intellivision community, particularly the homebrew community. I support all homebrew communities, and I want them to do well. And honestly, I would love a situation where publishers are making lots and lots of money, because that would give them better incentive to hopefully make better games. But in the current environment, maybe there's some cost cutting, and if that cost cutting involves the programming or the quality assurance, making sure that games don't have bugs and stuff like that, and now you're shipping out stuff that doesn't work, like Mr. Turtle, or maybe some other games that I've reviewed, that's a problem. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. I get that. They are very expensive. But please understand everything that goes behind it and the amount of risk that these guys take to even provide us with physical copies of games. I do think ROMs are the future, but for me, as an old guy, there's nothing like holding that cardboard box and putting an actual cartridge into your system and playing it on original hardware. That's what I love. I want that to continue, and I'm going to support these guys doing it. And if it costs $70 to pick up a homebrew game because that's what they need to charge in order to make any money off of it, I'm going to pay $70 a homebrew game. So thanks for watching. Like I said, I know I've rambled a lot and probably not my most coherent video, but just really wanted to respond to that. And like I said, any comments, if you agree, if you disagree, write it down there, and I don't delete them unless you're vile. Don't be vile. Don't be mean. Don't be racist. Don't be sexist, etc., etc. But yeah, let's have a conversation about this. This channel and these kind of discussion videos, they're all about the conversation, and everybody's input is valid. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Mike's Gaming Gala.